¿Listo?
Listo.
Bienvenido.
Cheers.
Salud.
All right, so what do we got here today?
Well, this is Antología de Talentos. This is my baby. Antología was born like many interesting projects out there during the pandemic. People were inside, didn't know what to do, and creative ideas started flowing. The tequila industry was not completely stopped during the pandemic because it was considered an essential business. Because,
Really?
of course, it's essential to our lives.
Necessary.
Yeah. And well, we had tequila partners going on, and we were developing some brands for third parties, entrepreneurs and companies in the US and all different places in the world. But we felt we got this question asked many times, me and Benicio, my partner, who is in Guadalajara, about like friends or family. So you help other companies and entrepreneurs start their brands. When are you going to launch your own brand? And being an industry veteran, almost 20 years, working in the tequila space and learning about the market, the trends, of course the process and the chemistry and art behind the science behind making tequila, we felt like almost like if it wasn't right for us to just launch a brand that would be, let's say, like a static or brand that would be made in the same way always. They have that kind of like standardized brand, because we are in touch with many people that are creating their brands, that see their markets, and we know that what's out there. We know the offer. We know there are many great brands. So sometimes you feel like, well, there is a lot of good tequila brands out there. Why create a new one? So we started just bouncing ideas back and forth and say, hey, there's something happening in the mezcal and other agave spirits world that is not happening in tequila. Traditionally, the mezcal brands name their mezcaleros, and their mezcaleros are also, like, they name also the people that grow the agaves or the magueyes.
Really? Really, they'll name the farmers on the label.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. And they give much more information that traditionally tequila products or brands would put in their labels. Mm-hmm. Now we're seeing more and more brands disclosing everything about their production process, and that's pretty cool. But that didn't happen in tequila before. So tequila was very industrialized, and many families that were involved in the production and the making of tequila weren't front and center in the brand, or the people would consume a tequila and know a brand and know whose family was producing it, but sometimes they didn't know the family or the people that were taking care of the agaves for 7-8 years to be used for that brand.
Yeah.
And many tequila brands have, of course, as you know, their own agave fields, and they the big brands have not most of their supplies, but I would say like 30 to 40% of their own supply of agave, but in their own fields. Wow. All of the agave that they need, they like 30 to 40%, they source from their own fields.
Why
and
not more?
50 to 60, it takes a lot of work, and that's how they balance having their own agave and control costs of their supply of their main raw material, and to be able also to be open to the market in like the ups and downs and the cycle of the agave price. For them, it's makes sense financially to have just one part secured, like almost like if they're hedging on the price because they want to give stability to their cost and to their finances. But so what happens with all of these families that have been involved in the growing of agave, that are essential part of the tequila industry, that have never been recognized by brands. So that was one part. To recognize agave farmers that have been supplying brands, so that have been involved in the tequila industry for many years, but their names have never been shown in a label. That was one thing that we wanted to put like, in our brand and say, okay, how do we do this? The other factor was we should make it like a collaboration style where a brand is made by three principal masters or talents. That's why it's Antología de Talentos. We have three different talents that are involved in this brand. One is the agave farmer or caretaker. The other one is the master producer or the distiller in this case. And the third one is the artist in charge of the label or of the art that goes into the packaging and that presents the product to the public. So Cuervo does in their Reserva de la Familia Añejo, they have a wooden box that they consign different artists every year to paint and to create an artwork in the box. So they launch a new collection or volume each year where their añejo is practically standardized. The product tastes pretty much the same. It's a really good made product, one of the best that Cuervo makes, in my opinion. And so it's great. It's like a collector's item because people that like the brand and that like Reserva de la Familia want to buy each year their Reserva de la Familia Añejo because they have their wooden box and they can collect them, right?
That's so cool. So that artist does just like they paint one and then they just print variations, or does the artist paint like 500 of these and they sell?
That's a good question. I don't know if this artist does all of them because they're pretty good volume they're selling. It's not a small batch product. I don't know how they do it. Maybe they have a good team, but usually you can see the artwork in the boxes that are hand painted. So
wow. That's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. So we took different elements that exist already in different brands. As every innovation, there's one would argue that there's pure creation or creativity, right? You take different elements from things that already exist and then you blend them together. So Antología is kind of like that. We wanted to showcase and to present a product that is collectible because we decided to be a nomadic brand, which means this brand is going to be switching and changing, moving from one distillery to another, producing one batch here, 1,000 bottles in there. Second batch, volume 2, in another distillery. And we're going to partner with a different master distiller, a different agave farmer, and different artists to create the artwork in the bottle. So the idea is to create 20, 30, even 100 expressions or volumes in our collection for people to see how vast and wide the range of aromas and flavors and expressions of tequila can be made. All of them blancos, bottled at 44 to 48%, depending on the producer, and we would give complete freedom to each of the artists. Like say, the agave farmer will choose which agaves they want to use for this batch. The tequila maker or distiller will choose whatever he wants to change in the profile, in the production process for that particular batch. Agave cooking temperature, time, fibers or not fibers, fermenting open air or closed tanks in different kind of containers. How long you're taking to ferment, what type of yeast you're using, how you're distilling, if you're cutting heads and tails, how much. All of that different decision that the distiller or the process or the tequilero makes while designing a tequila profile, they get full freedom. And the idea is for them, they can go as classic and traditional as they do with their everyday or core line of products in their distillery, or as wild or crazy as they can imagine for that special batch.
That's so cool because I feel like that's almost like it's a good way to ensure that you're getting the best out of each step of the process, because you're offering personal investment of like, hey, we want to put your name on this. We want you to offer whatever you choose you'd like to bring to the table, and then we're going to put it out together in limited quantity, and then we're gonna move on.
Yeah.
And so it's like we get one shot, and your name's on it.
Uh-huh.
What do you want to do? You're only going to get the best agave. You're going to get the best artwork. You're going to get the best that these people can provide. That's really cool.
And when we started this, that was 2020. Agave prices were very high. It's different now that you can see in a lot of fields that agaves are quiotando, that their flowers are showing.
Yeah.
And but 4 years ago, when agave was so expensive, very few farmers would let their agaves mature up to that point because
they start to get bitter at that point again, right? Like the maturity process actually starts to taper off, and so why would they not?
It's not the
harvest
flavor; it's because of the sugars.
Okay.
So when the quiote comes out, the plant uses all of its energy to produce that quiote and the flower and to bloom and to produce seeds
So
to reproduce.
just drops the Brix levels? Is that what?
Yes,
Okay.
that's right. But so once the agave throws the quiote, you have to cut it. That's why in the mezcal industry called the capones. The capon is an agave that's been cut of the quiote. So once you cut the quiote, you have 3 to 4 months to harvest that agave and process it.
Interesting. So why would farmers not cut the quiote?
They were harvesting as soon as the agave was ripe and not letting the quiote go out because they were selling their agave really fast. The prices were super. Prices were expensive. Prices were up and high, and the farmers were just selling their agave really quickly, and they didn't allow for their agaves to mature up to that point on the cycle. Usually it's not ideal to let the agaves grow the quiote because you need more work, more labor.
It's happening because it costs more to harvest it than just to let it die off, I guess. Is that what they're doing? Is they're just letting the agaves just kind of age out of usability?
Many farmers are leaving a portion of their agaves to let the quiote flower or bloom, and because that also helps the what was it?
Well, it spreads seeds, right? So it's is it like
Yes,
re-harvesting?
you can collect
replanting?
the seeds, and we've seen tequila brands now making and claiming that they are creating tequilas and profiles using agaves that were grown from seed.
Yeah, and Ana Maria Romero, right?
Correct, with Magenta. Yeah. That's pretty impressive because that has never happened in the past. It's the first time that I hear someone does that.
Ana Maria.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, so it's a matter of offer and demand right now. There's so much agave that the price went down. But at the time in 2020 when we decided that we wanted to launch this brand was, okay, let's partner with a good farmer and a good distiller. At the time, before I decided to do this, and the idea took like a nice solid form. Before that, we were just pivoting and thinking what we would do. And a friend invited me to meet René Carranza in his distillery in Atanasio. And so it was the first time I heard of Tequila Atanasio. And I'm like, okay. It's an artisanal distillery. It's pretty small. They were producing agave spirit, and they just got certified to make tequila. But they were producing for a while, and now they can call their spirit. They can call it tequila. I'm like, okay, let's go and see and try to see what it's like. I met Rene. He's a pretty cool guy. And he was in the process of becoming a tequila master. And his mentor was Don Chico Jimenez. Don Chico, used to work in the Regional Distillery in Amatitan for many, many years. So he was a veteran in distilling. He knew the methodology to produce tequila, and that particular distillery was known for making great tequila back in the day, late 70s, early 80s. And Don Chico he took care of the production in Atanasio. He's now with Cascanes. He's the master distiller of Cascanes.
Really? That's cool.
So Rene learned a lot from him, and I can say that Antologia is one of the first brands made in Tequila Atanasio that Rene took the reins of the production completely in full, with the help on whatever he was learning from Don Chico and experiencing there. So our idea was, okay, we need to present these characters to the world also. At the time, the idea was to present Don Chico. We couldn't do it because he transitioned at the moment. Back then, he transitioned to another distillery and to work full time with Cascanes, who are killing it, by the way.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, I have a pretty good friend that's in the art world, and she knows a lot of emerging and upcoming artists, all kinds of arts in Mexico, and she teaches art in some schools, and we commissioned her the task of finding different artists for our first volume. Let's see, we're gonna do this once or twice a year. We're gonna produce a small batch of tequila. I'm gonna sell them. I'm gonna put the artwork in the label. So that's why we designed the bottle like this, and practically like a canvas. You know, it's a big white space.
Did the bottle shape come first, and then you gave that to the artist? You know,
Yeah.
Here's the bottle shape. Mm-hmm. Okay, because I was wondering if that was even part of the collaborative process of you choosing the bottle shape with the artist that they wanted to.
We practically chose this shape of bottle with our design agency because we wanted a lot of space for expression. For the as they're gonna be blancos, it's a clear liquid, so it doesn't matter if you don't see a lot of what's inside because you get some hints of what's inside of the bottle. It's a clear liquid. You're gonna appreciate it in the glass later, but we wanted full. A lot of real estate in the label for the artist to express themselves and create something authentic, original, and to be something that I was. So how we do it is we brief them about the product and we say, hey, we're making this tequila. This is a one-time production. A single estate tequila. We use agaves from one single plot of land of this farmer. He hand selects the agaves. We're gonna take them to this distillery, and we tell the artist the history of the agave farmer, of the distiller, of the distillery, of everything around Antología de Talentos and what we're going to create a collection of tequilas, and all of that is inspiration for them. And he, in this case, Héctor Anaya. He's an artist from Guadalajara, and he studies all of that, and with his own personal touch and style of art, which is, in this case, is abstract, he designed a couple of works for us. And it was, the first two options that he gave us were great. We chose one, but any of them could have worked, of course. He's great, and to us this was very original because you said this time it's an abstract art. Next expression, next volume 2 is going to be, could be a photography, or could be hand painting, or a drawing, or maybe a photo of sculpture. I don't know, but. The idea is to also help an artist put their work out there and get known. You know?
Wow, that's so cool. I love it, man. It's absolutely beautiful. And I know that there was a certain expression, or maybe it's all bottles that get a print with it. I saw that one time. I don't know if that was like a limited run.
Yeah,
Like
so it was a limited run. We print the full artwork because the label doesn't show it. It just only shows a part of the artwork.
Yeah.
And we had Hector print some and signed, and we gave them to Alberto Partida and to Rene Carranza for signing them. We have a print with all three the talentos signatures in them. For the agave, back then I was collaborating with Alberto in a couple of projects, and my background was with Partidas. I mean, I've been working for Partida from 2006 to 2019, so 13 years working with the Partida family and the brand owners here in the USA. So I knew what the Partida name meant to the industry for making tequila, but many people didn't know that they come from 5 generations of growing agave farmers and agave growing in the area. And the Partida family is so big; they have different ramifications of the family with different distilleries, and I wanted to partner with them to present their side as agave farmers, because in this particular expression in tequila that we made at that moment in time, that is not going to repeat. We selected a plot from Alberto Partida. We toured the plot with him. I was there when he structured their jimadores, what kind of agave he was looking for and he needed for that tequila, and they were selecting and hand-picking the agaves. When the agave was so high, not even one farmer did that, because they were all just harvesting everything, whatever. 1 kilo meant 30 pesos, so they're not like even the smallest agaves, they would harvest them, and okay, that's what we call arrastre, when they harvest all of the agaves in one single plot without discrimination. And the other is hand selecting or hand picking, that's called seleccionado. And he did that. He chose the best agaves, he chose the ones that were already with the quiote, ones that were novillo cerrado, which means that there are some agaves that don't throw the quiote, but the top of the agave starts the top leaves start to submerging a little bit, like they descend, almost like if you have the full piña here and the top of it is like going down a little bit, like they push a little bit, like instead of going out, like caving, exactly. And those are called novillo cerrado. Those have pretty high amount of sugars also. And so we have this great team of 3 experts in their field, 3 amazing talents collaborating to create one product in one moment of time, one single batch or run of tequila, and then it's gone.
Wow. And then you move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Have you started lot 2 by any chance?
Just talks with different farmers and producers and artists too. We have a list of artists that we have that we are vetting to see which one we work with or invite to collaborate if he wants, or if he or she wants, of course. But we are taking our time because, as you would imagine, this brand, like, how do tequila brands make money? Of course, by selling their product, promoting. They do have to do a lot of marketing. And when a tequila brand is starting, they're not making money. You can ask all of the emerging brands right now if they're making money. If the answer is no, because they're reinvesting all of their sales proceeds into promoting their brand, marketing, a sales team, a sales force. In this case, this is gonna take very long time, because this is just for the collectors or connoisseurs or people that want something very special. But we wanted to get the word out there, mostly, like we say, word by mouth.
Word of mouth, yeah.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly we want to people that we want to appeal to the aficionado and to the enthusiast that appreciates a product like this. But we're not in our in this campaign of promoting a particular brand, a particular distillery. So it's more like a movement. This is like a passion project for us. So we're not making money out of this, and we need it to produce batch and volume 2. So we're gonna wait a little bit until most of our first bottles of the batch 1 are sold, which we have sold around 250 so far. We have around 700, a little bit more left.
Wow.
And
that's so small, dude. That's like not even 2 pallets.
Yeah, you know why? Because the autoclave in René's, in Atanasio's distillery, it's 6 to 8 tons.
So
I think they expanded it a little bit last year, according to René. But when we were there for the first time, it was only 6 tons. So the first shipment of agave, or the only shipment of agave to produce that, was 5.8 tons.
Wow.
Just one single trip. Not even the full truck was full. Not even the truck was full, and they processed that in one single cooking. Just one cook, one batch. They pressed all the agave. They filled one fermentation tank and the half of the other one. I was there every day checking fermentation with René and Don Chico. And it developed interesting notes in the fermentation. Then we can go to the tasting if you want.
Yeah, let's check it out.
Let me know.
I'd love to. Yeah, it's greener than I remember on the nose. It's like vegetal. It's not young agave, but it is very aromatic.
Yeah, some people say that the tequilas from the valley, Tequila, Matitan, Arenal, all of that area, are known for certain minerality and some herbaceousness to their profiles. And I agree. I think what I liked about this batch and how René decided to in each step of the process with the decisions and the style that he created here is an expression that is characteristic to the area of the valley.
That's cool.
This mix between minerality and the vegetal part of it. But it's a very complex product. I was amazed when I met René how what things they can do in their distillery, because people think that in a certain distillery there's only some range of flavors and aroma that you can get, that all of the products coming out of that distillery would taste the same or smell the same, but it's not.
I haven't found that to be true.
Yeah, so good distillers can create very wide and different expressions in their same process. So you get, of course, a very high and core note or essence of the cooked agave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it tastes like fibers, man, and it's also hot. Like it's 48%.
It's 45%.
45.
And see, we decided that 45. That's very interesting. That story is funny. How the story of how we chose the ABV was, we had a panel. We invited Alberto Partida. We invited my friend Jose Valdez from Partida Tequila, and we invited Chava Rosales from Cascawin, and we had a few other of our friends that are tequila consumers and connoisseurs. They were raised in the land of tequila, so they and we had a tasting we had different products at 42, 44, 46, 48, and we tasted different expressions. And if you've never done that, is amazing to see how the same liquid diluted at different percentages can taste and have different aromas and flavors.
Obviously, it's less water as you get higher in ABV, but it's also not that simple. It's not like it's not a spectrum of this, like more flavors versus less. It's this XY axis of more and less, but also these other things that you get that you wouldn't have gotten if there was more alcohol present.
Yeah, what happens is you are adding, you're watering down the compounds. And there are some compounds in the tequila has over 350 congeners. It's one of the most complex spirits in the world, if not the most. Maybe mezcal, I don't know if mezcal, some magueyes out there of mezcal can be more complex than tequila, but at the same, it's agave, no, at the end. So, and when you're watering and you're diluting the tequila, you're creating a different mix, and different compounds are being diluted, which means you have less, not only ethanol or methanol or all different alcohols or different types of alcohols that you can find there, but also you can find all of the compounds that are generated in the fermentation and that are selected by the distiller in the distillation cuts. That combination with water can show different styles and can show different notes.
Yeah. Well, I think the misconception is that adding water just means, I don't know, in just kind of less verbose terms, just simplifying it, like you're watering it down. But what's actually happening is a very complex restructuring of molecules.
Correct.
It's adding H2O molecules
Correct.
to the proper bonds that are already in place.
Correct.
So like what's happening is a wildly intricate chemistry experiment that's not as simple as like just adding some water to your cocktail or adding some water to your sweet tea to make it like more
exactly
dilute. It is changing the entire plethora of what is present.
You're speaking as a true tequila scientist now. Congratulations.
You did it.
You're right. That's exactly what happens. Exactly. And yeah, this you can notice that how oily this tequila is. The mouthfeel is very important in tequila.
It's not as oily as a lot out of a Macitan. Like a Macitan area is notorious for kind of waxy feeling tequilas. Like it just in mouthfeel, like very slippery.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like, I mean, that's just been my experience. A lot of those distilleries just kind of in that middle valley area kind of have that waxy, taste to them. I think.
Yeah, some of them, that feeling can be created by glycerin. The norm allows to add some 1% of the additives. But there's the natural oiliness that can be found in agave, because depending on the cuts of the leaves, how long you leave the leaves of the agave, you can find some more waxes in there that can add to the feel, to the mouthfeel of the product.
Yeah. Do you know what the humidors did? Like, do you know the process that they used? Were they aiming to leave a certain amount?
Usually like 2 to 5 centimeters, or that would be like 2 inches.
Okay.
And you can see the greener the agave looks in the patio before going to ovens is, of course, the longer the leaves that they left. So some tequileros like their piñas really shaved for some brands and some profiles. But if you don't leave some of the leaves there, if you shave it too much, you're losing some of the richness that you can find there. Some typical vegetal notes can come from that part of the agave. And
makes sense to me.
Yeah. So in this case, it wasn't a super shaved down agave. It was more like a traditional 2 to 5 centimeter leaf in the piña.
Okay, and that's pretty standard protocol. 2 to 5.
So as far as tasting notes, this is a blanco that evolves in the glass. It does not loses any of the characteristics. It evolves because there are some volatile compounds out there that start to open up, and then they disappear in the glass. But what makes this tequila great is that you can enjoy it, and you can have one glass, give it a taste, and then after a while it will taste a little bit different, and you find different notes each time you give it a sip. That's what creates a great tequila. You want a tequila that tastes good, but it does not taste always the same. That you can, you're still. It's kind of like with relationships and with marriage. You never fully get to know your wife and to understand the other person.
Yeah.
But you are discovering new things, and you are finding different aspects of a person's personality. It's the same with a tequila. You find different things each time you approach it, depending on the circumstance, the type of glass. That's what I like about this.
I love that. That's a great analogy. It seems like one that will evolve quickly as you pour it into a glass. So as soon as it hits the glass versus 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes later, I feel like it would change radically. Like what you and I have talked about, tequilas that'll open up. I feel like this is one that would open up, and maybe even using the Scotch whiskey method of like an eyedropper to like break the alcohol surface tension.
Yeah.
This seems like one that would really respond strongly to that. Have you done that? Like, have you just like dropped water in it, like after pouring it?
No, I haven't. I've never. It's a good one. I've never watered this down, but I have left it there to rest for a while, and it does evolve. It does open up.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah. So I mean, right on the palate, I get a lot of citrus. Obviously, right after the green vegetal notes, that hits your tongue first. But I mean, I get citrus. I get milk chocolate.
You can get some of the traditional notes of the agave. That is some pepper, some cinnamon, some the essence of the cooked agave, which is like sweet yam, some cooked pumpkin.
Okay, yeah.
And we're entering the season, right? So maybe
You're just smelling it. It's from Starbucks over there.
Yeah. But you get some bitterness of cooked agave is not all sweet. There are some parts of the agave that when it's cooked, especially in their leaves, it tastes a little bit bitter.
It's bitter, yeah. I mean, it's natural for plants with chlorophyll. Like any green is going to have a bitter, kind of stringent nature to it.
Yeah, correct. So that mix is what creates the complexity also, and that's what I like here also. That it's not fully sweet. I mean, in tequilas that have additives, they don't taste any bitter at all. But bitter flavors help you round up and help you. It's like with paintings. You have the lights and the darks, and it's the same with a tequila. You need some of the mix of the bitter and sweet already to create a great profile.
Well, I mean that balance happens with everything. Like I went to college for music, and so we learned when we were studying. I mean, I studied jazz guitar, and jazz is all about tension and resolution. It's like you apply like kind of some bitter notes to it, and then you resolve. And then you apply tension again and resolve. And it's this literally sometimes chord for chord, like one note to the next, one to the next.
Okay.
Is applying tension and then resolving it. And that happens in everything. But I think that principle stands with tequila of like, if it's only candy, then it's not robust.
Correct.
You know, if it's only sweet, if it's only soft, if it's only this, then you're not finding any of the complexity that you get in that. Same with wine. Like if you don't have any tannins in there that give it that kind of that mouthfeel, that sizzly mouthfeel that also applies the black pepper notes, like it's not going to.
You're right.
It's not going to be a very interesting wine.
Great analogy. I love that, and I love that we're discussing paintings, wine, music, because it all translates into like art. Tequila is an art, man. I mean,
it is.
The science behind, you need to be very like methodic and understand it, and you have to know your chemistry, of course, as a good tequila maker. But it is so vast and wide that it's impossible to analyze each compound that comes out of the fermentation in order to select one of them and separate them and create a formula that would always taste the same. It's impossible.
Well, that's something that I've loved about the organic tequila approach, the additive-free tequila approach, is recognizing that every lot and every batch will be different, and that's something that we can embrace. Whereas if you get 2 bottles, they're going to be different. It's not like where you go and buy a large brand of any spirit, bourbon, scotch, anything else, where you just want it to be the same every time. I think tequila is kind of taking that cool approach with single barrels and high proofs and no additives, where it's like, hey, it's gonna be different.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, how exciting, how cool is that? That like, hey, I'm curious how this bottle is gonna be different from the last one that I had, or how this lot is gonna be different from what I had a year ago.
And that opens
so
the
exciting.
door. That opens the door for consumers to remain excited about not just one brand, but different that
Every
they
release,
like.
yeah.
Just in the past, people would just say, "Or I only drink, I don't know, Johnny Walker Black,
Yeah.
or Jim Beam or whatever," and they would stick to that brand, or Don Julio Reposado.
Yeah.
That brand in Mexico was pretty staple for certain generation, and they wouldn't change, and they would like their tequila Don Julio Reposado because they would always taste the same. And it's okay if you like that. But I think it's more exciting and interesting to be learning about why it can evolve or change depending on the time of the year that it's been made, where the agaves were grown, how you're changing your distillation cuts.
Yeah,
Keeps it exciting.
absolutely. I want my Chick-fil-A to be the same every place. Every time I go. Not my tequila. So, I mean, to be candid, this is a pricey bottle.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. Like, obviously, I know your love for tequila and the spirit, but what would you say to someone who is questioning if this is a money grab?
Yeah. So at 129 at siptequila.com, you can find Antologia because the lower the volume on a production run, the higher the costs. When you have economies of scale, mean that you are having several shipments or truckloads of agave into your distillery, cooking different, 2-3 ovens at a time, and throwing all of that into your roller mill and creating bigger production lots that gives you efficiencies. This is a pricey bottle because not only of the production method is going to be naturally higher costs because it's single batch, very small production run in one single run. I mean, to get a distillery running, just turning on like the caldera, or like turning on the boiler, and Ataneso was not producing at the time when we did this. And besides, they're not particularly known by creating cheap tequila, so that's one. But just in general, as these are pretty small batch runs, costs go higher. And also same for the printing the labels, printing. There's a intrinsic.
Yeah, intrinsic.
There's an intrinsic cost to it to make it like a small batch, and everything in small quantities, and it's usually higher priced. And also the idea that this tequila is not gonna be produced ever again like the same, and to be a holder of a bottle of 1 of 1,000 that will never be the same and will never be produced in that distillery again, that also is something worth, it's like, I'm part of something, I'm part of this movement, part of a collaboration, and we wanted the three talentos that were involved to create this tequila to be recognized. No?
Yeah, that makes sense. So what would you say to, so why should someone reach for this bottle off the shelf or add this to a cart versus, you know, a Fortaleza Blanco that's $30 cheaper, you know, $40 cheaper?
Oh yeah, in great tequila, of course, by the way. Fortaleza, it's an amazing brand. They make really good tequila. But you can find it next year. Well, if you're lucky, because they have.
It's always a guess.
It's always short of inventory everywhere, and it's like a hard find. But it's a tequila that you will enjoy, and it's not a collector's item. Some of their productions are like the winter blend, or they have like their special releases that are worth probably just buying and not opening. I'm sure of that. But this is a tequila that is more aimed to people that want to keep something in that, to offer something really special to someone. And it's a great gift for someone that knows tequila or is learning about tequila. There aren't many brands that offer exclusive runs or exclusive products or just that something that is never going to be produced again, you know? Because I hope we have Fortaleza for a while, for a long time, but this is not going to be available for a long time.
Yeah, it sounds like 700 more bottles, and then it's gone for good. And we get to look forward to a lot too.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Dude, thanks for sharing it with me. This is everything that I want a Blanco to be personally. This is high on the list for me. And so thanks for sharing this with me, man.
Gracias. This is Joe.